Good morning, garden lovers. It's been a while, but here I am again. I am actually trying to do this video before the end of 2025, and since I have this little hellebore that I used as a centerpiece for the Christmas table. It was in a swan planter actually. So I thought, what a better way to do a video and to end the new year. I mean, a new year, the old year before the new year, by planting this pretty white hellebore. Unfortunately, I don't have the tag anymore. I don't even know if I saved it, but it literally is a supermarket purchase. I'm not really close to any like plant nursery, and if there was, there's also very few selections of plants because it's December. So anyway, so this is like a supermarket purchase, and it's been inside for quite a while. That's why, as you can see, the yellowing of the leaves. But we can remedy that by cutting off some of the sort of damaged leaves, like this one right here, and then we'll plant it. And I already know where to plant it. I think I'm gonna plant it underneath this dogwood that's in the butterfly garden. And speaking of the dogwood, before I forget, it's been so warm in the last week, and the dogwood are budding up already. I mean, it's just the beginning of winter, and they're so beautiful, and it's gonna be a good year for this dogwood. So full of plump buds. So I love dogwoods. I mean, not just flowers, but the branches, the way the branches kind of grow, and not just in a straight line, but so I think I'm gonna plant the white hellebore right underneath it, and so not in this immediate area right there, because that's facing west. So that's like kind of harsher sun there. So I think I'm gonna plant it somewhere over here. I have that heuchera there. So that's midnight rose, and then I have this 2 blue fescue in front of it. So I think I'll be safe to plant it like right here, somewhere in here. So I even have this area right here as well, but I think this is also very sunny right here. So yeah, I am gonna plant it here, and but first we're gonna trim it, and then we'll plant it. But we're accompanied today by these 2 beautiful beasts. This is Lation. He's actually a purebred, a very old one, an old soul, and his real name is Idle Speculation. And so he's a full breed quarter horse. Yeah, a pretty one. But he's very old, like I said, and but it's okay. We all get old. Huh, Lation? He's such a good boy. He's always just around. Um, and if I'm not around, I look outside and he's just out there, just living his life. Yeah. But anyway, so let's clean up this hellebore. Let me put the tripod so you can see what I'm doing. But it's not, you know, it's not like a mystery on how to do this. So I'm just gonna go down to the bottom of the stalk. There's plenty of leaves, so you know, and plus when it goes in the ground, it's gonna immediately try it, because it's that time of the year anyway, for the old leaves to sort of be old and and die, and it will be replaced pretty soon. If this was underground, it would be like this anyway, and then pretty soon it will make new leaves. You know, the old leaves will die to make way for the new leaves. And I usually cut the old leaves like in February or March, and I have actually a video or a short that showed you how much of the old leaves I had to cut out, like I said, to make way for the new leaves for the new year. So we're not, you know, harming this at all. So and this one last guy right here in the middle, let me get it out. And one last one, and just go right to the base of the leaf. And also I'm gonna cut this dead, almost dead. See how it's done, because it was like inside for, I think it was a good week. So I actually waited towards as close to Christmas as possible before I bought this, and so it wouldn't suffer too much in like inside house with the fake environment, fake warmth with no sun, especially that my dining room has no sunlight at all. So that's what I did, and it's not dried up. So let's see what kind of root system it has. That's what I'm afraid of. It's, you know, it's bred to be in the seasonal display of a supermarket, so that's why. So we got our hori hori, and then so let's go over and plant this guy. So this is the west side, and we're gonna go over here. I don't know if I should do it in here. It's probably too sunny. So yeah, the original plan is here. So move some mulch, and so slowly this this side of the circle is getting filled up, because, you know, as you all know, especially us small gardeners, you know, with not a whole lot of no sponsorships or no big, you know, budget for plants. You kind of do it slow and you know, buy as you can, and then fill in your garden. So anyway, the roots that I'm actually pulling out is not from the tree. It's from an American germander that I'm trying to, I just planted it like this year, early this year, and so it has sort of an invasive root system, but I figured it's in a small area, so within the bounds of this circle, I can keep an eye on it. But because it's beautiful, it looks like a snake root flowers, and it's white, and um, it's also a native, so I just tend to give it grace and allow it to grow, and keep an eye on it at the same time. So, but anyway, there is our hole. I'm not gonna fertilize it. I'm gonna fertilize it in the spring after it blooms, late spring actually, maybe close to summer, and because it's too late for it to get fertilized. So I think that's a good placement and a good how where it's facing for me to see it. And then I'm just gonna fill in some soil around it and then put back the mulch, and it's done. So later on, after I film, I'll just water it, and there it is. So that heuchera there, which is purple leaves, like I said, midnight rose, it's going to contrast well with the green of the leaves. And then later on, when spring comes and that heuchera will fill in, this would still be flowering, hopefully, but I'm not counting on it because it's first year in the ground. It will contrast well with the dark leaves and then the blue stems. And so we're off to a good start. And so while we're done with that, let me just show you what my winter garden looks like, which is not very glamorous at the moment, but what can we do? And that's the reason, actually, speaking of glamorous, that's the reason why I'm planting that hellebore there. It's for winter interest. I planted this. I'm slowly remedying the garden. I mean, granted, the garden is only 2.5 or so years old, but that's why I don't have everything in place, like the winter interest, and the succession of blooms for the pollinators. Like in the spring, I'm gonna be scrambling to see what's blooming and adding more, and the same thing with summer. And eventually in the next year, after 2026, this garden would be prime for pollinators at all seasons. So but anyway, this sweet spire, I got it from a native plant sale, as you can see. And so I just planted that late fall, and look at how pretty the leaves are. So it's sort of one of the winter interest, and then with the hellebore, and then the heucheras also, they're still pretty new as well. And I think this is Palace Purple. Yes, the old standby Palace Purple. I actually have some critters that's digging the bases of the plants, as you can see. It's probably my dogs. They just scratch and do their putting their scent in the garden, but they're a part of the garden. So that's why I just come out early in the morning and see what's going on, and then I'll just, put soil back where it was dug out. And so, yeah, so this is the butterfly garden. It's messy because it's winter. Like I said, I have a thing with paths. I usually sweep my paths, but leaves and winter storms, it's kind of, difficult in the winter to have a spick and span garden, which I'm learning as well about that. Especially if you garden for pollinators, we can't really have a spick and span garden. We have to leave some debris, especially in the late autumn and spring. I mean, winter, for for the hibernating insects and little critters, so we can't really fully clean the garden. This garden actually doesn't have a lot of leaves, but the other gardens are full of leaves, and I've been gardening like that since I've been here. And that's why I have tender perennials that make it to the winter, because of all the leaves. And like I said too, all the critters need shelter in the winter. And I also planted this garlic. So it's in this tub that I actually slowly are accumulating from estate sales. Unfortunately, the prices for these things, the sellers have caught on, of, the people are buying it to make it into like raised gardens. And so I have 3. I have one with flowers, and this one I thought I'd plant the garlic. It's my first time planting garlic, and I didn't really want to fail because my ground is, I don't know. So I thought I have more success with a controlled environment like that. And then that dog fennel, I have still yet to cut down, but I'm afraid, there's insects overwintering there. So I cut one, and I just decided I'd leave that there. And then I also need to divide this, I think it's called ribbon grass. Yeah, my horses kind of tried to eat it before I planted it, and I don't know what happened to the tag, but it's a Japanese ribbon grass. It's variegated, and so that's that. And I didn't expect it to be that big, but no worries. I'll just take some and plant it somewhere soon. And also yesterday, that's why all the debris there is I did headed the Buddleia, which is the Pugster. It's a proven winner Pugster series. So that's the Pugster Blue. And I just cut off all the, the dead blooms. And so, yeah, I don't know if this bunny grass died. I kind of planted it in the heat of the season. So we shall see, I guess, in the spring if it comes back. And here's, I planted a new variety of, see the paw prints in there. This is a shorter variety of Blazing Star Leatris. So I have a tall variety like this one right here. See this tall stalks that I partially cut. I'm trying to get a lot of varieties of each species of plants. So, for the pollinators, again, and also different varieties, they bloom different times of the year. And so, yeah, so that's everything. I have this heuchera, I think it was lemon lime heuchera. So it's kind of very chartreusey green in the growing season. So it's like semi-evergreen there. So I'm not gonna clean that up until later. And then I also have this native sedge. It's my first time, like I said, and I'm new to the native plant world. So so there's that. But and again, I planted that in the heat of summer, but so I don't know. But all sedges actually in our native area, they die back. So I'm hoping, they're very tough. So I'm hoping it will make it. And look at this Agelija. I just cleaned it up yesterday. They're all seeds that I throw in here. So earlier in the season, this was full and thick of seedlings that came up. And as you can see, there's still some in there. And hopefully next year it will be even more. And then I'm going to start collecting seeds and give it to friends or people that I come across that love plants. And here's another big one right there that I cleaned up yesterday. So it looks very happy. And Agelija, in particular, they're an easy plant, especially for beginners, because they grow like on in like paths, in little cracks, and they want to live. So those are the kind of plants that you kind of want to inspire other people by giving them those kind of plants. So yeah, so here's another winter interest that I put in there last spring. So that's the Arizona cypress, Arizona blue, and I'm hoping that it wouldn't get too big, but I can always prune it as well. So I'm glad that it just stayed thin. It has grown quite a bit, probably 1.5 inches since I planted it, but you can also control it by pruning. And here's a low-growing goldenrod as well. I have other types of goldenrods. So I heavily planted this bed with fall blooming plants because I realized in the fall that there was barely anything here except for the zinnias, and I hated that for the pollinators. And this germander, it has gone really a nice size. It's probably 2 years old, and I planted it from a little 4-inch pot from the garden center when they sell herbs in the spring. And then that ajuga there, I literally just moved like one little root from a shady area, and then the sunlight kind of made it grow like that. And it's funny because a friend of mine, I gave her some, and she said, well, mine didn't make it. And it's probably because, it traveled from my house to her house, and I don't know. But, I showed her, I said, I don't know, because look at that for an ajuga. Ajuga usually kind of like, it doesn't grow thick like that. But then again, that's a sunny area. So the sun probably contributed to its wildness. And this is the round. This is basically my my autumn garden bed. So this is full of sedums, like this sedum right here, and then this garlic chive. Look, it looks like what you call that, like fireworks. But I love them, and we actually tried to eat the seed. See the seed right here, and it is so strong and pungent, garlic flavor. And then the others are the obedient plant, or the Physostegia. So I have a standard rose there in the middle, which is not doing well. I'm not a good, or my soil is not good for roses. So I don't know if I should just give that up, or I just need to find a good variety for my area, I guess. And so yeah, and the sweet bay magnolia right there with the, the purplish brown leaves, has gotten big. It was probably half its size when I planted that. And then there's my stump where the moonflower was growing. I could, do something with the stump, but I'm not. There's pollinators and insects living there. So and it's not gonna be there forever, just like us. It's gonna eventually decay and crumble, and so I'm just gonna let that be, and let the natural process happen. And then my horses broke this pot, and I was about to throw it away, and I remembered seeing, like a broken pot turned into like a succulent garden. So literally around late October, I went to Tractor Supply, and I saw, and that's how it kind of clicked in my brain. I saw these little tiny pots of succulents, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. And so I got like 4, or actually, yeah, 4, and then 2 died. Like this one died, and a big one that was in the middle died. But this one is happy looking. And this hen and chicks, Echeveria, this was blooming when I planted it. Like, I planted it later than the others, so around November. And I don't know, it looks, but hey, I'm hopeful that it will make it. And because I know Echeverias, they kind of overwinter in my garden, so. But yeah, so that is the sad looking butterfly garden. I'm itching to kind of deadhead this bluebeard, but I'm not. Like I said, let the natural process do its thing, and then in the spring I'm just gonna deal with it. So I'm trying to be a good steward of the land, and to help out, all the natural insects and critters. And I actually have a lot of birds. I opened my window late last night. It was getting hot, and this morning my alarm clock was this loud bird outside of the window, but which is a beautiful sound if you're a nature lover. So yeah, and so this is the sunny original garden, the sunny border. So all these little ground covers that I planted here. So this dead pile of shrubby thing is a mum or chrysanthemum. It's an heirloom. So it was blooming beautifully, and it helped me a lot for autumn blooms and autumn food for the bees especially. And so yeah, which I will be thinning out these things because it's literally in the path, if you can see it. My path is all buried in there, but which is a good problem to have, I guess. And then so yeah, so I have evergreens here. So this is the hot poker, red hot poker, but this is grassy. I planted that to kind of break up the monotony of the same shape leaves of plants that are in here. So grass like next to, you know, a regular leaf. And then this pincushion flower is gotten really big, despite, you know, it was just planted. So see how big they got. And then I can also see a lot of this is actually I think this is a salvia, if not I think it's a salvia, I'm pretty sure. But, and there's no, actually this is, I'm sorry, this is a balloon flower or scabiosa. And this is the my God. So my brain, I guess, is also overwintering because I can't remember all the common plants. Oh, but look, I just stepped on it. I planted some bulbs here. Oh, look, here's a little guy that I just stepped on. See, that's another thing too that I'm very big on don't step in the garden beds. It's just rude. And plus, you know, there could be plants that are poking out. That's why also another reason why you don't want to clean up your garden beds until the spring when you can see what's coming up. Don't pull any seedlings that appears that you are not sure, you know, if it's a weed or a plant. But look at this. I just planted, which I actually dug this up. This is a goldenrod. Look. It's trying to bloom. So I guess I didn't want to, like I said, snip off the dried seed heads because I didn't know if I will be able to, identify them in the spring. So there's that. So I actually have quite a few, I'm sorry, a few evergreens here. So that's an Abelia. It's a variegated. It's very beautiful. So it has white variegation, but in the winter it turns kind of sort of a kaleidoscope Weigela, but look, and it turns like sort of a yellowish white in the winter, the variegation. And so yeah, and then this plant that I planted from actually from Marketplace, somebody was propagating some plants that are not readily available in the US. It's doing so well. I mean, I am so pumped and surprised in how good it's looking. I planted it in a pot for a month or so, And then I cleaned up this area and I decided to put it there and see how it does, because in her garden it was really prolific and robust kind of rose. So it's called Fiery Marks. I think it's, if I'm mistaken, it's bred by a Japanese breeder, but it's a French rose. And that's why I bought it, because it's French. Love the French. So, and also, so I have that green sky pencil, and then in the middle there I have that tall cedar that I got for Mother's Day. So, but to me, I still looked at the bed at the end of autumn and I'm like, I need more evergreen, and I've been wanting a Mugo pine. So this pine is a slow grower and it's a dwarf. It probably gets up to like 8 feet tall and about 4 feet wide. Don't quote me on that, but it's not like a regular pine. But so to my dismay, a small business nursery went out of business, and literally I just planted it a week ago or so, and so I got this for $30. And so where can you buy a Mugo pine this big for $30? So I wanted so many things, but it was Christmas, present buying season, and I just try to be reasonable, and I reasoned that I could never find that for that price. So I got that, and it's sort of, let me show you, like like a punctuation from this path. So this path, and it's like a punctuation mark there, and I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy. I am so tickled that I finally was able to get this guy in there. And if I can find another one, I would plant it in my side garden, which is very shady, but it can also live in that kind of environment, in a shady environment, because that's what Japanese gardens usually use for, and most Japanese gardens are on a shady side of the garden style. And then so this container here, so I have this petunia and it's hanging on. So I left it there. I hate to pull out plants that look like they're trying to live and make it. So I planted some violas, and this red rooster grass was there from the spring planting. And so I just added violas and left this, because if it was somebody else, they would have just plucked this out and planted something for the fall. But anyway, I'm not trying to impress anybody, and I am mostly a plant lover, instead of clean aesthetic gardening. So and plus my garden is an experiment, and I have proven a lot of theories about tender perennials in here because of the leaves. So so I'm experimenting on the petunia, so maybe it will be a good success experiment. And also my daffodils, these are very old daffodils. It's been here probably maybe 40 years. When the first owner moved here, she planted a bunch of them, which is very old-fashioned. They're everywhere, and I probably ruined a lot, but they're coming up, and And then this also from the previous owner is this camellia. It was actually, she used it as a foundation planting. There were 3 of them. I left one in like the corner of the house, the corner of the kitchen and the laundry room. I left it there and it's huge. So I literally dug this up and it was a huge shrub when I did that. And it didn't grow as well or as big as the one that I left, because I didn't know what I was doing. I cut a lot of roots, but I'm surprised that it made it. So it's been there probably a long time as well. So it's doing well. It's a good, a sure sign of winter and spring is coming. It gives you hope. And everybody that comes to my house, they always comment like, what's that rose growing in there? Because it looks just like a rose. It's a double flowers, red. And then also I planted here to sort of kind of anchor this dead area. I have Solomon seals in here that's going to come up in the spring all around there. But for the meantime, in the winter, it's just nothing there but the camellia. But I planted this also from a native society plant sale. And it's a calamint, so it's a Georgia calamint, so it's very native. So I'm glad to have found that. And you can only find things like that that you didn't know before if you go to organizations like that, like your Native Plant Society, plant sales, and so on and so forth. And see, a squirrel just dug a hole in the middle in there. Probably planted, we have so much acorns this year. I think we were having a mast season. When a mast season is when there's an overproduction of seeds from the trees or the plants, whatever, for survival. And so on the other side of the camellia, and here's my attempt to make a grass garden with bunnies in the middle. I only found 1 bunny so far. I've had that, but I want it to be the same bunny as that one. I just put that in there for, to see what it would look like. But so I have this Carly Rose. It's hard to find. See, there's something, or just digging holes. It's hard to find the Carly Rose and also the Blonde Ambition grass, which is that one. So I found the Blonde Ambition and this Carly Rose of all places in Ohio. And I'm like, why does Ohio have some plants, cool plants, that we don't have in Atlanta? It's kind of, it makes you mad. And then my most favorite evergreen shrub is the Kaleidoscope Abelia. And look at it, there's a reason why it's called Kaleidoscope. So in summer they're just green with some variegation, but look at the colors. It'll have that reddish color and the yellow, and it's a short abelia. If you know abelia, the old varieties, they're very tall and just big. It needs a big space. So that one is just growing there. It doesn't need a lot of space. And behind the hydrangea, which is you know, it's not growing as big because I planted it smaller too than this one right here. But I'm fine with that. I'm not, you know, trying to rush things. Gardening is supposed to teach you patience, and God only knows I haven't learned that, but I'm trying. So, especially with things like that where you have no control, they just grow at their own pace, and what can you do? And I'm also trying not to rely on fertilizers a lot, um, so I don't fertilize. If I do, it's like once a year in the spring, but but anyway. So on the other side of the sunny border, I have this area here that it's still in progress. I have this Viridis Japanese maple. It's actually have a pretty kind of color. I don't know if it translates in the camera, but it's a pretty bark. It's like I said, it's just green, and but behind it I planted this oat grasses, and it's so pretty. It's also very nice on arrangement, and just like with any grass, it sways in the slightest wind. Like now there's a soft breeze, look at the movement. But you know, for those of you who don't like grass, because I used to not like grass, it's just in the last year and this year I've been grass crazy. Like the wild grasses along the roadsides or highways, I'm like enamored and in awe of them. I mean, like I said, it wasn't used to be like that, but if you don't like grasses, the leaves, you know, shape and size, this is actually, you know, it doesn't look like a grass. So, you know, and like I said, the seed heads are so beautiful when they're long and intact, when they bloom late summer, and then they just turn brown but stay erect and intact through the end of the season. And so, you know, so another good interest, and it's, you know, contrasting with the rosemary in there. And speaking of rosemary, I've been cooking a lot with them, not just with potatoes, but with teas. And I tell you what, I've made tea with the rosemary first time this year, and I was so surprised at how good it tastes. I am not kidding you. So if you have rosemary, pick some, bring it inside, boil water, and then after it boils, put in however many sprigs of rosemary you like, and then leave it for like, they say 5 minutes, but I don't like strong tea, so I left it there for probably 5 seconds, and I took it out, and I didn't put anything, and it was so good. I was so surprised. So yeah, yeah, I think I'm gonna end the video here. I'm trying to make this into a topiary in this small terracotta pot. It made it. It's like a good trooper all year round, and I don't even, you know, like I mostly forget to water this. The other one I did on the table where where we started the video. It didn't make it, but this one is a trooper, and I can't wait for it to become a topiary, because as you know, topiaries are so expensive if you buy them when, you know, if you're short on funds. You can, and plus it's a good, really practice a patience, you know, grow from a little guy like this. And this is actually from a pot with, you know, like a straight stem. There were two growing in there because most growers, they want it to look bushy, so they'd plant two in a pot. So I literally just split them, and that's what, what was growing in the other pot that didn't make it. And then you just strip whatever, some branching that, trying to grow on the side. And then when it gets bigger, you can shape it into whatever shape you want. So yeah. So you can just imagine the pride you feel when this eventually will become a full-grown topiary. Wouldn't you think? So yes, garden lovers, I think I'm gonna end this video right here. And Happy New Year. Hope you had a good Christmas. And I hope to see you again next year, somewhere down the garden path. Bye.